This is the nodes and map reveal by Narc. Let's go and we will give this a like already. And I hope you go and subscribe because he makes some really great content. So everybody, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to go and check him out. Let's make sure. All right, we're good. All right. Nodes and map reveal Ashes of Creation is about to get wild by Narc. Check this out.
Done myself once again. And your final wish, sir? For my final wish, I wish that my channel wasn't... Oh, no. Not you again.
What's going on?
That final wish is mine. I have finally found it. You will grant me my wish, Genie.
The hell?
Stay back, Master. I won't, Genie.
Oh my god. This guy makes the wildest videos. What is even happening?
Grant me my wish. I wish Pantheon was fully funded.
Okay, I obey.
Wait. Say Pantheon? I thought Pantheon was fully funded. I think Pantheon is fully funded. No, wait, no. That's true, they just got in some more funding. But they're pretty much fully funded.
I obey.
And to be fair, Pantheon is sticking to their goals, right? They're sticking to their morals. There was an interview with Carnage and the lead developer and another lead developer guy. No, there's like the main, like a CEO, and then there's like a lead developer. They had an interview with Carnage, and they were saying that they had been approached by many different investors who were interested in putting a lot of money into the game. However, they wanted to make some changes, and that would deviate from their vision of what they wanted the game to be. So they've turned down money so that they can make the game that they really want to make. And I fully respect them for that. And they have said that they've gotten in a lot of money. Carnage has donated a lot of money to that endeavor. I heard a number like 2 million, but I don't think that's correct. I know it's like a substantial sum, but I don't think it's 2 million. I could be wrong. And they were also hiring more people, so Pantheon is key. It's keep coming. Also, Co is supposed to be doing a first ever actual live stream of Pantheon. Not just like a developer interview thing where he like plays it with the developers, like a full actual playing the game live stream. It's coming up soon, like a couple days maybe. It could be next month. I don't remember. So I'm really excited for that. Anyways.
I'm sorry.
It is done. Your players, your pleasures, they are ours. Ashes of Creation.
Hey, what up, boys? So, a fairly short live stream prediction this month, as all I have to work off is an emoji of a map and an emoji of a city. However, I think my skill of fabricating content straight out of my arsehole does still extend to singular emojis. What do you think this script will end up on? 8 minutes? 12 minutes? I love stalling to reach certain thresholds for ad revenue, but before we get into that, grab yourself a Coca-Cola because Jesus. I released the Patreon yesterday and so many of you joined that there is absolutely no chance in hell I can organize your names in time for this video. So let's put a pin in the plans I had for giving Patreons a shout out and save it for the live stream video
this guy's bloodstream
for today's little prediction, I will admit for the first time in many months they've kept all leaks under wraps, so I'm not actually sure what's coming. But that doesn't stop me from entering a copium enhanced trance, looking into the future through 2 emojis. It is more than enough information for me to work off by.
All that is copium, hear me. Tell me what is the.
Is this actually something new? I thought this was actually something new.
No. It can't be. Now,
All right, hold on, we'll check
with
this
all
out.
that bollocks out of the way, let's begin. Shall we?
All right, well, let's find out.
The fact that they've kept this month's leaks under wraps has risen a few concerns among the ranks of our copium army. It can basically be read in two ways. Either this month's livestream isn't particularly special, or Steven is so busy setting up an unbelievable showcase that he simply hasn't had time to spend in Discord hyping up this upcoming livestream. I think we can determine just from these concerns who a casual consumer is and whose lives literally depend on Ashes of Creation being hype. Personally, I fall within.
Some people are so diehard that they are just like, it's either like the next WoW killer or they're just done. It's just some people are so over the bullshit of so much of the MMO market recently.
The camp of pure depression, so I will always go into a live stream with low expectations. This is probably the healthiest and safest way that you can wait for Ashes of Creation's development, because trust me guys, some of these community members are so far off their rocker with expectations, I'm not even sure they're human anymore.
I actually really like this mount. I actually think this mount is really cool. As weird as it is, it's a fucking slug that they added legs to, which is so weird. I still think it looks really cool. I remember way back in like 2009 when games like Rift, Aeon, and Terra were touted as potential WoW killers. Dude, so straight up, Rift was actually pretty decent, but no, it did not have the same impact as WoW did. Aeon, I didn't play, and Terra, I played briefly, but as I remember it, there just wasn't enough in those games to really draw people in and keep them. Yeah, Rift was actually really solid. It had really great classes, great mechanics, great, like pretty decent combat. The graphics were kind of eh. They're pretty dated. They're not like WoW graphics where that are while obviously WoW Classic looks obviously does not look nearly as good as retail WoW currently. It is, since it's kind of more cartoony, it's able to kind of withstand the test of time a lot better and actually still hold up in the modern day and still look like acceptable and playable. Whereas, if I remember correctly, Rift had a more quote-unquote realistic graphic style, and kind of similar to how the Lord of the Rings tried to do their MMO, which I'm really sad for, because I'm also a fucking massive Lord of the Rings fan. Like, I fucking love Lord of the Rings, and I wanted that game to succeed so badly. And they chose a more realistic art style. And of course, within a couple years, it just looked outdated and looked like absolute dog shit, which really sucks. But here we are. And yeah, Rift was really solid. It didn't have that little extra bit to make it able to actually compete with WoW. But other than that, yeah. No.
However, before we begin with the predictions, allow me to just bring you up to date with what Steven did actually leak recently to set up your expectations for September's live stream. We got one noticeable message from Steven about 2 weeks ago now, dropping suddenly out of thin air. The Ranger will be coming in September. This, of course, confirms that a combat update isn't.
Was this the Paladin? Because I know this guy had like a bunch of like light shticks going on. I think this is, I don't know if it was like the Paladin, I don't remember.
Due this month,
I don't even know if they said what class this was.
Elaboration on this front, but at least it does confirm that next month we can expect a.
You know, I don't know if I really like the way that combat looks. I don't know. It looks really spammy. I don't like. I don't want to have to sit here and click my mouse button a bajillion times just to do auto attacks. I don't know. I don't particularly like action combat for whatever reason in MMOs. Just never seems to work. I don't know what it is. It doesn't work well in MMOs, generally speaking. I think it's very niche, and a lot of people just get turned off by it, myself included. Like ESO is action combat, and it's very boring after a while. I'm really concerned that the Ashes of Creation is going to be the same thing.
Pretty hype live stream setting up the class kits as confirmed by Margaret last month.
So look forward to when we do deeper dives into the combat, and
Yeah,
that'll be
we'll
coming
be showing
up over the
class
next few
kit
months.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes,
in
absolutely.
the next few months,
Okay.
which is exciting.
Pretty exciting stuff, but what does that
I mean,
spell
I hope they pull it off, but we'll see.
for tomorrow?
Yeah,
Well,
I'll have
I've
to see how it
stalled
feels when I
long
actually
enough
get in
now,
there.
so I think that pretty much gives us enough bollocks to pad out this video to meet the required time so I can milk you all for ad revenue. We'll quickly go back in time
Missed.
now. Now, with all that bollocks out of the way, let's begin, shall we? So Steven did actually announce during one of their live streams that their original map concept has had a rework. Oh,
Okay.
apparently I imagined that there was a clip for this, so let's just gloss over that and instead slap this on the screen instead.
Hold on, just to confirm, the map has undergone significant changes during A2 development, Alpha 2 development. A good portion of these changes were made to support larger naval influences and the land-sea trade route systems. We will elaborate further in future updates. Okay. Right, I know that trade and like sea voyages are supposed to be a big thing, so that's interesting. I like that. That's interesting mechanic. Hopefully it's not relegated to just like a really cheap gimmick. Like hopefully they really kind of dive deep into it and make, because that could be really interesting with potentially like naval combat with I think it was Arcage had like naval combat and it was actually really good. So I really hope they delve into that. I mean, maybe they're not. I don't know, but yeah, that would be really cool.
Yes, Steven did confirm this on Reddit. Thanks for that, Discord boys. I swear there was a clip, though. This was, of course, done to compensate for their caravan system, a core component to Ashes of Creation's economy, gameplay, and PvP. This was obviously expected at some point, as the map concept is super old. It's not really viable to expect a concept from 2018 to line up with their current vision for the game, as it has come a long way since then. However, with its rework, it also means that all previous speculative videos related to this map are now invalidated. But that doesn't mean I can't remake them. Hey! Recycling content. Ah, my favorite kind. Which leads us nicely onto our first emoji. Yes, that wasn't a meme, my friends. I am quite literally creating videos now based on emojis. Whether this means the main focus for this month will be on the map rework specifically, maybe giving us an overview of the Alpha 2 layout, or if this extends to caravans and exploration itself, is something we will have to wait and see. But as we know, they are backed up on subjects they want to show us. Personally, I'd love a flyover of their map, but this is a pipe dream, I feel, that maybe borderlines a bit on the spoiler department for Alpha 2. The team have been ultra focused on keeping the discovery intact for Alpha 2, and I think that is probably best to actually do that. I want to learn all I can as much as the next guy, but I also value that sense of discovery in an MMORPG above anything else. Having that discovery...
Having discovery is huge in MMOs. When things become min-maxed far too quickly, I think the game loses a lot of its flair and loses a lot of its sense of wonder, right? Like when you can go out into the world and go up a mountain and are able to like discover this cave and go through like a second time on another character and discover like a different cave, and you're able to kind of keep that sense of exploration instead of having the mini map or the map literally point out to you every single thing you can possibly do. I think it kind of ruins it ruins something. I think it hands you too much at once. And it ruins that sense of wonder for the world, because it literally just tells you, here's like the entire world, here's everything you can do. And I think it's so much more valuable to have things to discover. I'm not putting this in like really good English words, but there's something that's really valuable, the sense of discovery. And something that's been lost in a lot of modern MMOs, because so much of it, they just hand it to you so early, so quickly. Whereas in a game like Elden Ring, again, it's not an MMO, but it's a large open world game. they showed you literally nothing. And group of 20 is trying to 4 DPS. Ha! Nope. They showed you nothing, and it was just this constant exploration, constant discovery. And it never got old, and it was every little bit was amazing. So I really, really hope that they somehow are able to preserve that in this game. I really hope that. I miss that sense of discovery.
Very spoiled in the Alpha 2 itself is a bit of a shame. However,
Ashes of Creation is a brand new IP, completely brand new.
it's a small price to pay to bring this highly ambitious MMORPG into reality. And this is where I want to shift our focus over to the second and arguably more interesting of the emojis. God, that sentence sounds fucking ridiculous. Now, back in 2017, Intrepid released 2 videos. These were called Nodes Part 1 and Nodes Part 2. It was basically Steven explaining the concept for Ashes of Creation's world and the player-driven city building aspect of it. It goes...
Here's my problem with the node system, okay? Because this is what's inevitably going to happen. You're going to have, like... Let's say there's 10 nodes, right? Let's just say there's 10 nodes, make it a nice even number. I guarantee you 3 to 4 of those nodes are going to be so significantly better than the other 6 or 7 that those 3 are going to be the massive hubs and the rest are going to be fucking empty and there's just going to be nothing in them. And if, here's the problem though, if they decide to make every node as valuable as the other, because obviously, like, they are God in this game, like, they can fucking do that, I think it would completely, not completely, I think it would ruin a lot of the world building and that sense of being in a naturally occurring as much as you can in an MMO video game world, right? Because it would make no sense for one node, right, that's very mountainous and has, like, bordered by a bunch of mountains, right? That node, it does make sense in said node to have, oh, there's like a mine in the mountains, and so there's like a lot of ore. But then if they try and go, oh, well, we need to make every node as valuable as another one in every other way, well, let's just add this, like, weird random mine in this other node that's just, like, a really large plain with a lot of, like, lakes and rivers. And let's just add, like, a random hole in the ground, and that's your mine, right? It would just be kind of like shoehorning in resources and different things. Now, granted, they did mention the caravan system, so maybe that's how they're going to solve that. So the mountainous node mine one will have, like, a caravan that'll send their ore to the node with, like, the plains and the rivers, and then the plains and the rivers one will have their fish and crops or whatever, and they'll caravan it to their vice versa or whatever. So maybe that's how they're doing it, in which case, fair enough. That's fantastic. But the issue I see with the nodes is that inevitably, and you can just see this from the way, you can just see this in real life, right? Like, there's a reason cities like Constantinople and Rome and London were placed where they were. It's because those were, like, the best trade routes and the most trade routes, best a place to get resources to them, highest resources, etc., right? So, and it's impossible to have an entire world that is equal in that sense. So, inevitably, you're going to have 3 or 4 of the, 10 or whatever nodes that are just extremely populated, and the rest are going to be like, well, there's no point in going there because they're just objectively not as good. So, I don't know how they're going to balance that. I'm really interested.
Into extreme detail over the course of about 16 minutes, explaining every facet of the node system. I'm sure the majority of you watching today have already seen them videos.
Well, right. Well, yeah, no, you're 100% correct. They were built there because they're near rivers or water sources, in which case they could have trade. But my point being is that there was these specific areas that were much more advantageous for resources. I won't say like they had resources, because a place like London doesn't necessarily have like iron, you know, in its surrounding immediate area, but it's a great place to then import said iron. But my point is that some of those nodes, because it's just the way, if they make this world more kind of natural, realistic, quote unquote, whatever, some of those nodes are just going to objectively be better than the others. And if they were to try to balance it out so each one was equal, it would, I think it would kill a certain amount of realism or kind of natural feeling to the world, and it would, I think a lot of what they would add in, if they're trying to make every node equal, would kind of feel shoehorned in. It doesn't fit, something along those lines. And that's just like kind of the nature of having, you know, a whole world or whatever. First settlements were from ancient groupings of people who lived near a water source. Yeah, exactly. Right. Right. Well, they lived in a water source because they needed the water, and it gave them water for, you know, to drink, and then water for their crops, and then eventually when they developed water naval travel, right, they could take their canoes down and then which turn into ships and et cetera, of course. But my point is that, like, you know, let's just say, like, let's say you have like England as a, right, England is made up of 10 nodes, whatever, right? The nodes on the coasts, like London, is going to be much more populated and valuable than a node in like the exact center of the country. And so everyone's going to flock to London node, and no one's going to go to the center, because why the fuck would you? It's just like empty grassland and sheep. So unless you're like fucking sheep, like why would you go there? And that's kind of the problem that I see Ashes of Creation might run into with the node system. I'm just kind of curious about how they might solve that.
I've linked that up in the top corner and down in the description below. I highly recommend you go watch them. But before I go off on one, I just want to say I'm not actually sure it is going to be Nodes Part 3 this month. I think if we're going to get a major update on Nodes, then Steven would go out of his way to actually hype that up and make it a main focus of the live streams. Because the teaser mentions multiple things being shown off, I think it's a safe bet to assume these are going to be fairly mild in comparison to previous months. I'm perfectly okay with this, as the last 6 months have been consistently impressive. Although a lot of people weren't too impressed with the desert and landform showcase last month, I actually thought it was one of the best ones from this year, next to the seasonal showcase. I think as the more niche systems and gameplay starts to roll out, people will end up having widely varying opinions on these live streams, and that's okay. There's an insane amount of niche parts to Ashes of Creation that need to be showcased, and I'm sure they won't be everyone's cup of tea. For example, the Artisan Showcase is the one that I am on the edge of my seat for. I don't care too much.
Capital cities like Madrid are kind of like exceptions to the rule, right in the middle of Spain, nowhere near the coast. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't know, I'm not familiar with Spain or Madrid, so maybe, is there like a river? There might be like a river going nearby Madrid, in which case they could have trade through there, but otherwise I don't know. A lot of the surrounding regions of Spain are quite hilly, mountainous through, and it's quite flat, slap bang in the middle. Okay, yeah, I mean, obviously there's exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, yeah, cities are founded on coasts because of, you know, water, trade, etc. Yeah, there's always exceptions, but Paris is also fairly inland, but has a Seine River. Yeah, exactly, has the river for trade, or what they did back in the day, or obviously more now. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how they kind of try to balance the nodes out.
About the combat personally, as I'll be spending most of my time gathering and crafting, but I recognize that combat is important, so I can be excited for...
Combat makes or breaks a game. It makes or breaks an MMO. Obviously not every game. I'm talking about like not just MMOs here, like single player games as well. Combat in single player games is not always the most important if the story in the world setting is fantastic. But in an MMO, combat is king. It's like gameplay, or gameplay is part of combat, right? But what was there was another guy who made the Riot MMO League MMO videos. He said gameplay is king, setting is important, and like gameplay is king, setting is important, and then community was also like the third pillar of an MMO. And if you don't have the combat and the gameplay correct, you're dead in the water. The rest does not matter. It does not matter how pretty your fucking MMO is. If the gameplay / combat is boring and and doesn't feel weighted and impactful, it's just not going to work. Everything else does not matter.
For the people who are waiting with bated breath for more combat information, at least we have a solid confirmation that we'll be getting a combat update next month. As for Nodes 3 though, if we're going to speculate off the rails, I'd say we'll likely see a modernized demonstration of how the nodes will function from Wilderness all the way up until level 5, maybe, if we're lucky, even up to Metropolis stage, likely building in real time, utilizing the power of Unreal Engine 5. This will also likely show off how their semi-procedural generation will keep the nodes fresh and unique from location to location. One of New World's largest critiques was how they copy-pasted their cities over their embarrassingly small world, and I'm super glad to hear that Intrepid were hyper-focused on solving this way before New World was even a thing, but I digress. This is mere speculation at this point, and I'm super excited to see what they have in store for us.
I hope they build their world in a way that makes sense, and like what he was just saying about New World kind of copying and pasting, and I really hope the world kind of makes more sense and feels like a real living, breathing, natural world for sure.
I think I'll end today's video with a few questions for you, my dear viewer. Have you been satisfied with Ashes of Creation's development this year? Would you be disappointed if the live stream was a little on the mild side? And how will you be coping with the anticipation for September's live stream?
I want to point out something. I just had a thought of.
Mild side, and how will you be...
That right there. I feel like, okay, this right here, right? This, when he did this slam, maybe they'll change it, but that slam needs to have some sort of stun, or like kind of, it needs to like kind of like maybe like knock out back the mobs just like a slight bit, right? It doesn't even be a lot, right? Because you don't want it to maybe be super overpowerful in PvP, super overpowered in PvP. With that slam, because what he did right there, we'll play through a few times, right?
Coping.
We'll play through again, right?
Would you be disappointed if the live stream was a little on the mild side? And how will you
goes down and nothing happens? Like, yeah, he kills those like little rock troll thingamajiggers, but nothing. It feels weightless. That's the problem. That's part of the combat they need to fix. If that slam had like, if it just kind of knocked the enemies slightly, kind of had them pause for like half a second, you know, had them stumble, pause, knocked back out, whatever, that slam would feel so much more impactful. But as it is just in the footage, I would not, it looks flashy, but it's not impactful. And combat needs to be impactful.
With the anticipation for September's live stream featuring the Ranger archetype. Personally, these are not a worry to me, as my MMORPG is making videos for you guys, and my god, isn't it the most dopamine-rich, satisfying MMORPG currently on the market? So why not come join our community of Copium Addicts and watch the stream with us live during our watch party in the beautiful Copium-filled land that is the Narciverse. Link for that is in the description below. But as usual, I am just one nerd desperate for a good MMO, and my opinions mean nothing without yours in the comments below. And hey, as they do every month, the official 24-hour teaser GIF should be live right this minute. So I'll pin that down in the comments.
There's a lot of fucking cherry
Before I
Pepsi.
end the video, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who donated, became a member.
All right, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Nodes and Map Reveal by Narc. Please go give him a like and subscribe. He puts out a lot of absolutely fantastic Ashes of Creation content.